bipolar schizoaffective disorder. That's what Legion has, at least reportedly per his family. It's what we're learning. Now, none of us know him, but this is the reports that we're getting from some pretty reliable sources. And so now comes looking at the story in a different light. Now, I could only get through by about, I think it was part 4 of Who the F Did I Marry? Because I admittedly began to think that this man is not evil, he's sick. He has a mental illness. And I'm one of those people who believe that people that have mental illness, that they are just as sick as somebody that has cancer. They need as much medication and treatment as someone that has had a stroke. And I tend to think that it's society, it's our job to help them because they don't know that they're sick. It's the same thing with the Risa Tisa story. So now we've gotten all into the, first we felt sorry, we were shocked, then we were amused, then we felt sorry for her, then we got real happy for her, and then we got mad at anybody that said anything that wasn't real happy and popular about it. Somebody had a varying opinion. And then now we get to the point to where we see that this man is mentally ill. And if we as a community, women, we as black people would start looking into mental illness, then we could find a clue when somebody comes that's mentally ill. Now, see, I got caught one time with that guy that had mental illness. One time. And like I said, I did a whole sermon on it and talked to people about it. And then I found that it was so many other women that had went through the same thing. And then I started thinking about it. The medication that he'd be taking, he said, he had to take it for his blood pressure. And then when I went back and looked at the pills online, like, that's medicine for bipolar disorder, right? And so if we could learn to know the signs, and then also, just have like the courage and I guess it's not courage, but you need to encircle yourself with people that will be able to tell you the hard truths. Listen to this video of this young sister whose video did not catch any traction. But if you said you didn't like Risa Tisa's hair, if you said that she was a big woman, if you said that she was dumb, it just went completely viral. Like, clearly look and see that she should have picked up on it. And I was listening to it with my fiance, and the first thing is when that first incident, I don't know what episode it was, I don't want to get into it, but when the first incident happened, when you found out that he told that first lie, that was too big of a lie. That family has said that he has a mental illness. So let's look at the other side of this, because now I'm going to tell you, as a former news anchor, what's going to happen now is that people are going to start dissecting what's going on with Legion and his mental illness, and now the tides are going to turn. Now people are going to start feeling sorry for him, and then people are going to start getting mad at the people around her, and they're going to start getting mad at the people around him. Because Risa Tisa says she talked to his brother. Why didn't he tell her? When I got with a guy that was bipolar, his family didn't tell me anything about it. And then after he tried to take my life, then they were like, well, yeah, he's got bipolar disorder. See, when y'all have people in your family that have mental illness, you need to tell people so that they can make a decision. That's no different than having like a son that's got 5 kids and has HIV, and you let him date a 19-year-old virgin at the church and don't tell her, don't warn her. You're just as wrong. So watch the sister's video. I may have to put it in 2 parts, and then go back and look at Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Because now I'm getting ready to go back and look at the whole parts, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think about it and the mental illness that this man has and what ownership his family had in it, and how we need to make sure that we learn about mental illness so that this doesn't happen to any of us again.
He's been diagnosed as a kid with both bipolar and schizophrenia.
If you know anything about bipolar schizoaffective disorder, they have hallucinations, delusions, they have mania, and these things can last for years. Listen, my father was building a computer for years. He bought all of the parts. Every night he would go outside and work on this computer. And of course, my father is no longer with us today, but guess what? That computer never, ever got built. When you have bipolar schizoaffective disorder, these things, these delusions can live in your mind. So I want to answer a couple of questions that I know that Risa Tisa wants to know the answer to. So the first question will be, did he really fall in love with Risa? The answer to that question is yes. There is a high chance that this man truly loved Risa Tisa. Why? Because people with bipolar schizoaffective disorder, they look for something safe, right? They look for someone that they can love and who can hopefully love them back, right? They are humans at the end of the day, but it does not stop the delusions. You can be head over heels in love with a person with bipolar schizoaffective disorder, and they will not stop hallucinating. They will not stop having manic attacks. These are things that happen when people are bipolar. The second thing is, why did he marry her? Again, my father married my mother. He did not stop loving her. He loved her until his death. So, of course, yes, they can also fall in love and get married. Now, one of the things that Risa did for him was make him feel safe. And that is why he continued to try to surprise her with things. In his mind, he believed that everything that he said he would do for her, he could really do. Even when it came down to Googling and showing her stuff on the internet, listen, I have had several pictures shown to me by my father of him with Barack Obama. I flew him here to Washington, D.C. We walked into the Airspace Museum, and my dad was going on and on telling everybody who would listen how he built the space shuttle that took the first man to the moon. The delusions don't stop. Another question, why didn't Risa notice his disorder? Well, that's very easy. In the African American community, mental health is not something that is always the forefront. Only 25% of African Americans actually seek out mental health. And that is why it is easy for us not to notice. It's quicker for us to call people crazy, narcissistic, and pathological liars before ever getting to the space that, hey, this person may actually have a disability. And that is exactly what Legion had. Another thing is, of course, religiosity. This is why she calls him Legion. Most people who were actually mentally ill were spiritually said that they were demon possessed. This is about the religiosity of African Americans. So a lot of people go undiagnosed, especially people who are very, very religious. Again, another part is what she admitted to. You know, your mental, emotional state, your ability to notice certain things in relationship that's not going right is something that she owned up to, but it still doesn't change the fact that this man is truly mentally ill. Another question is, why didn't Legion seek help? Simple as this. Nobody wants to believe that they are crazy. And I don't want to say crazy. Nobody wants to believe that they are mentally ill. It is very hard to convince somebody that there's something wrong with them, especially when everything that they believe is really true in their head. You cannot tell a person when they are in mania that what they are experiencing and what they are doing is not real. That is not a true experience for them. It is like telling you, just as clear as you see me, that I don't exist. And so these are things that people with bipolar schizoaffective disorder, they believe 100%. Also, when you are in a manic attack, it is like a high. It is like you are riding on your favorite merry-go-round, on your favorite roller coaster, and you don't want to get off of it. Trust me when I say it. When my dad was in his mania attacks, you could not tell him a thing. He loved it, and he didn't want to take his medicine. The reason why he took his medicine is because he had children. And he did not want to lose us after my mother passed away. So my father stayed on his medication, but it made him lethargic. It changed his mood greatly. And by the end of his life, he had lost a lot of his motor skills. Why? Because the medicine that you take for bipolar schizoaffective disorder messes with your neurons and your nervous system, because it has to stop the volts in your brain from telling you that you are living in a world that doesn't exist. Another one of the questions that I want to answer for Risa is that why did he abandon her at the baby's death, even if he may not been in a state of mania? When a bipolar schizoaffective person goes through a traumatic experience, such as something that can cause them to be depressed, because being depressed is also a part of the condition, they can retreat. Right? So when my mother passed away, my father started making up all types of stories that weren't necessarily good stories about my mother, but that is how he chose to deal with her death, right? He chose to make her an enemy, what bipolar schizoaffective disorder people will do.